Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of BLEAV In Bears. Thank you so much for checking us out right here in the BLEAV Sports Network or on Sports Talk Chicago. We're back, baby. Summer's almost over, which means football is upon us. Training camp is happening. So let's bring in my co-host right now to talk all about it. He is West End Golf Course's very own Fox 32, CHGO, a man of many talents, a man about to go on vacation. It's Corey Wootton. What's up, Corey?
Hey, what's going on, my man? It's been a minute. Football season is right around the corner. We got training camp going. I know football fans, and especially Bears fans, are excited to see the team this season. They've been the talk on every major publication, radio show, TV show. Everybody buzzing about them. Justin Fields, this offense, what they're going to do. Is he going to take the next step? So there's a lot that we're going to dive into on this because it's been a minute.
Legitimate hype. We're definitely going to do a little training camp breakdown here just in a little bit, but we got to get to some news and notes because some big stuff came down the pipe late last night. The Bears made 2 signings. Let's start with the first big one, and this is right in Corey's corner right here. Yannick Ngakoue signs for 1 year, $10.5 million, $10 million guaranteed. A lot of rumors about this all summer long. The Bears got the deal done, hopefully at the number that they wanted. Corey, your reaction to this signing, and then just tell Bears fans a little bit about Yannick Ngakoue's game and what he brings to the table.
We have been talking about this in the offseason. I was like, he's a guy they need to look for. And I think Bears fans think, oh, man, he can't play the run. He's not going to be an every down end in there. They're going to play him to rush after the passer because that's the spot that the Bears have been really lacking last year. I think they had 22 sacks as a team. And as a D-line, I believe they had 7 total. So
6.5.
So Yannick has averaged around 7.5 per year throughout his career. So he can get after the passer. So I think this is going to be rushing situations. They'll put him in there, let him loose, kind of like how they did for, Dwight Freeney back in the day, just pin your ears back and rush. And he's very talented at that. He's kind of bounced around a lot. And I know people have talked about maybe there's some issues in the locker room, but I think Eberflus and company, they have the right locker room, the right situation, and I think he'll do really well in those pass rush situations. So I love the pickup. I'm looking for him to get double-digit sacks this year. I really think he can in that role, and it'll take pressure off some of the other guys like DeMarcus Walker and company. You could have him slide inside of the 3 technique, which he did in Tennessee as well.
Yeah, when we're talking about Yannick Ngakoue, he's played in Matt Eberflus's system, but he's never played for Matt Eberflus before.
Exactly.
So hopefully the transition is going to be very smooth. There are some coaches that know him from the Raiders. Clearly they must have done their homework with the Colts about what they think that he can bring to the table. And look, this has been the biggest concern for me and for you over the last year is what are we doing with this defensive line? And at the very least, at the base bare minimum, the Bears got better at that position with, as you said, a veteran guy whose floor is incredibly high in terms of sacks, quarterback hits. I think 39 quarterback hits over the last 2 years. So, Corey, when we dispel it, let's go a little bit further, just a little bit on that run game situation where they say that he can't stop the run. He's only a third down guy. What do you think the Bears are trying to do schematically, philosophy-wise to stop the run? Is it, and this is just me, novice, someone who didn't play the game, is what I'm thinking is that they're trying to get more stout in the middle and use their linebackers and maybe use nickelbacks like Kyler Gordon to protect a little bit more of that outside contain to stop the run. What are you seeing with that signing and how they're going to maybe try and attack that area, which was one of the worst in football last year?
Yeah, well, I think them beefing up Dexter and Pickens and all these guys up the middle, Andrew Billings, they're really going to try to stop that run because last year they struggled in rush defense, right? Yannick Ngakoue, the thing is, with the Tampa 2 scheme, you don't need to be the strongest guy in the room, right? And people say he's a little bit undersized, doesn't play the run well. But look at a guy like Simeon Rice, right? That was 6'5". They listed him at 260. He was probably around 240, to be honest with you. And he played the run really well in that Tampa 2 scheme with Rod Marinelli, Lovie Smith. It's all about getting off the ball. So if Yannick can get off the ball and set the edge, he doesn't have to drive people back. But your get off and your penetration is what sets the edge. But I see him, like I said earlier, in more of a role as straight pass rush. But I think this Bears team, I know they're going to stop the run this year, beefing up that interior defensive line. It's going to allow the linebackers to flow and go because I think that's the real strength of this defense. You talk about all the pieces that they added in there. So it's going to be a very fun year. I know Yannick will get the pressure. We're kind of seeing who else will really stand out at the other defensive end position because, like I said, Walker on pass rush situations, he's going to move to the 3 technique because that's what he did in Tennessee. And I think they like his versatility, the fact that he could play the run really well on that left side and then come in pass rush situations and play that 3 technique.
Yeah, and word on the street is through training camp that DeMarcus Walker has been one of the more vocal players on the field. So honestly, I think you kind of like to see that from a new guy on the team trying to make a place. Maybe final one on this is if we're trying to project ceiling right now, Corey, for this defense, I think it's safe to say that last year this defense as a whole probably finished in the back half of the NFL. I think the defensive line clearly was at the bottom of the NFL. With all these additions from a TJ Edwards to a Terrell Edmonds to the guys that you just mentioned that we drafted, DeMarcus Walker, and now Yannick Ngakoue, how are you projecting this defense now? Can they get to middle of the pack, or maybe even just getting more into that 2022 area amongst the NFL? Is it an improvement enough that can hopefully help the Bears this year?
I think it'll be a significant improvement. And my one area of concern is the pass rush, right? We addressed that with Yannick. Still have a little bit left with the other end position, but I think the rush defense is going to be greatly improved. And that's half the battle when it comes to situations. If you can't stop the run, then you're not in third in favorable situations for a pass rush, right? And they might mix some things up because the linebackers are probably the most talented group, right? They'll probably bring some blitz packages, and then ideally next year really stack up that defensive line and get 2 to 3 ends that really can rush the passer. But I think the rush defense is going to be significantly better. And that's half the battle in this league. You look at the teams that are successful defensively are ones that can stop the run. And a year ago, they couldn't do that. So I look for the rush defense to vastly improve. And I think as a whole, the total overall defense, their ranking will improve as well.
Yeah, and when you mentioned the secondary too, one more year stacking up with more pass rushers, more defensive line, you're going to have 3 or 4 guys like pretty much fully formed NFL pros in their prime with like a Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. We're going to see what Tyreek Stevenson does this year and whether they re-sign Jalen Johnson. But that's maybe that moment when it all comes together a little bit, Corey. I know that's kind of looking down the road a little bit, but that's what Ryan Poles is trying to build on this defense right now. And remember, Bears fans, they're actually you can do a lot with a little, right? When you go maybe from 31st in the NFL to maybe 23rd or 22nd, that's a big enough jump with the Chicago Bears team that was in a lot of football games last year that you can maybe turn some of those L's into W's. And obviously we're going to find out in about a month. The other one was this morning they signed Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah.
A man who came into the NFL when I graduated college, Corey.
Yeah.
I have gray hair in my beard now. The 39-year-old signs a 1-year deal. We don't have to get too much into this, but what's your take on it? What do you think he brings to the team? Can he break with camp? Do you think he'll be on the roster week 1? What do you think he's going to bring to the Bears?
Yeah, he's basically an extra offensive lineman, a great blocker. I know he's been a red zone threat throughout his career a little bit. I don't think that's what they're going to utilize him as. But you look at what they're trying to do offensively, right? Really establish that run. And he's arguably one of the best blocking tight ends to ever play in the game. Hands down. I've went against him, played against him multiple times. Jacksonville really brings it, because the what they think about tight ends nowadays, guys that want to split out and can't block, but he's an old school type blocker. I actually played against him my freshman year of college. We played against UCLA in the the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. And I just remember seeing him like 6'7", 6'8", 270, just a freak of nature. But he's been able to play for such a long time and really been a stable force on the rushing attack on offense. So I look for him to really solidify that. So I think he'll make the team, and I think he'll be a real force in there. Him and Kmet, sometimes 2 tight end sets, and I think that's really where he's going to make his mark.
Bears fans, just keep in mind, he caught only 6 passes last year. 2 of them were for touchdowns, to be very fair. But yeah, I agree with you. Just obviously a depth piece, veteran presence, another guy in the offense that, I don't know if he's going to help Justin Fields, but it's just another guy that knows what he's doing out there. Exactly. And you're right, man. Like, they can get a little creative in those short yardage situations, get a little even more creative in the red zone, which I honestly, we'll get to that a little bit later, but I'm just so intrigued to see what our red zone packages look like this year with a player like Justin Fields in a second year of an offense with Luke Getsy, with a running game that was one of the best in the NFL. I mean, man, when you talk about dynamic versatility, what they can do at any moment on any play in the red zone, I think it's really intriguing, and it has a possibility to be a real strong point.
Corey, let's get into that red zone real quick.
Yeah. Tell me more about it, dude.
Yeah, so that's an area they really struggled. We had talked about this the past 2 years, really struggling in the red zone. And I think this is where they're really going to change, like the defensively changing from being really bad at the rush defense to being middle of the pack and decent. I think they're really going to be to one of the top teams in the red zone. I'm going to tell you why, right? Cole Kmet's another year in the system. Robert Tonyan is a really good red zone threat. And then you look at DJ Moore, Claypool, right? Claypool is really seeming to come into his own because why? There's no pressure on him to be a number one, right? He has the size, he has all the tools to be a number one, but he's not a number one. You look at all the years he's done really well in Pittsburgh is when he had Antonio Brown, all these other guys, and he was the number 2 or 3 option. So I think Claypool is going to have a great season. I think Cole Kmet's really going to make his mark in the red zone with Robert Tonyan. I think that's going to be a great connection. And then our running back crew, and then having a guy like Mercedes Lewis to be in there in the 2 tight end sets when you need a yard or 2 to get in the end zone. And I really think the Bears are going to significantly change red zone offense because they were one of the worst a year ago. And I think they're going to be one of the best because of all the pieces they put together. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think a lot of teams that win are successful score touchdowns in the red zone as opposed to turning it over or settling for field goals.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's plagued Bears offenses for as long as I've been around. As long as Mercedes Lewis has been around, it's been plaguing Bears offenses. And Corey, just real quick, as a former defensive lineman, what does that do when Justin Fields shotgun snap, quick breakout like he's going to run on the 5-yard line of the red zone? Everyone sucks it in, and you've got backdoor options over here. You got tall Claypool in the corner right there. Yeah. I mean, like, it's just got them guessing in such a small amount of time. And I'm with you, man. I just think they're going to be able to pick people apart with the type of weapons that they now have in this offense.
Exactly. It's going to be a fun thing to watch. And I think I think the jury is still out for Justin Fields. I think there's a lot of people that really don't believe in him, right? Because they think, oh, he ran so much last year. You look at his completion percentage. You look at these numbers, and I'm like, you realize that the offensive line it really wasn't the best. You talk about the weapons not having that true number one. This year, there's no excuses, right? He has all the pieces to the puzzle offensively to be successful, right? They surrounded him with a great running back room, tight end room, wide receiver, the offensive line. They went out and got Darnell Wright. They got Nate Davis. So all the pieces to the puzzle are there. Justin Fields, I'm telling you, he will be a top 10 quarterback this year. The way he's transitioned, we've been talking, you hear on Twitter about, all these talent evaluators saying how different Justin Fields looks this year compared to last year, right? And I know it's training camp and people take that with a grain of salt, but how you practice and what you bring to the table in training camp helps set you up for success. It doesn't guarantee it, but he definitely looks different. The pieces to the puzzle are there. I expect him to have a breakout year. And people say, I'm not saying he's going to throw for 400 yards, but I think he'll be in that 250 to 300 range. They'll have a great running game. He's not going to run the ball as much as he did a year ago. Maybe there'll be a couple plays here or there, but I think he's really going to transition and establish himself as an efficient passer in this league. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Like, you look at even a guy like Tyler Scott, for all of a sudden we're running the football. You take a hard run fake, go deep to him because he's a burner. So all the pieces to the puzzle are there. Justin Fields will be a top 10 quarterback. I really believe that. I'm looking forward to it. And this is the most excited I've been about a Bears season since I played.
Really? Wow. Even more than 2019? Yeah. Really? Yeah. I was pumped after that year. I was like, oh, here we go, baby.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think Justin Fields really hasn't scratched the surface of what he can be. And talking about a team actually doing things to have him be successful. And I think that's what they've done. And they know that. They're like, listen, we have to see everything from Justin Fields this year, right? Because it's a huge year for him. They got Caleb Williams coming out from USC next year. We got 2 first-round picks. They have to see what Justin Fields can do. and they surrounded him with all the pieces to the puzzle. So at this point, there's no excuses, right? If he doesn't perform well, that's on him. But I really do believe he's going to take the next step here. And I think a lot of people are going to eat the words.
I tell you, man, it's been kind of a roller coaster for me. When the season ended, I was really excited to see what Justin can do with another offseason in another year in Luke Getsy's offense, see what happens. And then over the summer, I did go through like an element of an area of skepticism. I walked the desert of skepticism on Justin Fields. But then I tell you, man, the last couple of weeks, the more I think about it, and the more that you're starting to see it now a little bit on the field, man, I'm kind of coming right back there with you. And look, if people want to say that he can't throw, if he throws the ball 30 times a game, okay. But he threw the ball only 18 times a game last year, all right? We're calling that, if you want to talk small sample size, that's kind of where we're getting at a little bit with that there. Let's see if he can actually, put the ball in the air a couple more times a game. I'm not saying he needs to throw it 30 times a game, but if he gets to 23, 24 a game, and as you said, gets those extra 50 yards every once in a while from a guy like Tyler Scott, all of a sudden these numbers look a little better and more people start to shut up. So, Corey, I want to get to you at training camp here because look, man, people are really excited to watch football. I'm really excited to watch football. So now, everyone's really absorbing every single detail with a level that we can all debate whether it is too much or too little. And there's great people that I respect so much at training camp, reporting and talking about each play every single day. But, I just want to ask you as the former player, you've been through so many different training camps. You've seen the ups and the downs and the reasons for why the downs happen and the things that you build off when the ups happen. So for Bears fans out there, can you actually really tell us what training camp is about? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like when they have a bad day, does it mean that the offense sucks or it's just a part of the process of them trying to get a little bit better and help people get off the seesaw of Justin Fields a little bit right now?
Exactly. I mean, in training camp, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, right? And it's all learning experience, right? Because when the offense and defense are going against each other, we always say, oh, the offense won the day that day. Defense won it goes back and forth. So my thing is like this. They throw the kitchen sink at, Justin Fields and vice versa. The offense throws the kitchen sink at them because they want everyone to get better. So I think the thing is, as long as you're getting better every day, right? And necessarily he might throw a pick here or there, but they go back to the drawing board. They watch that film and they say, you made that throw there, but look over here. He was wide open there. So it's all a learning experience. And training camp is a great opportunity, right? To practice, to get everybody together, go through 11 on 11, 7 on 7 drills, get the timing of everything. Because you got to think about it, right? The off seasons in the NFL are getting shorter and shorter, right? So he's had less time with DJ Moore than 20 years ago a quarterback would have had with his receiver. So they're getting on the same page. Him and Claypool really seem on the same page. And I think Claypool is going to really surprise a lot of people this year. I really do, because I know people have been very down on him. I saw him in Arizona at the Waste Management. I mean, he looks like a defensive end. It's unbelievable, his size. He's close to 6'5", probably about 245, solid. I just think when the pressure is off him, he doesn't have to be that number one. That's where he flourishes. And I think this year, look at all the weapons on there, from DJ Moore to him to Darnell Mooney. Cole Kmet is really coming into his own. Robert Tonyan as well. And you look at the talented running back room. There's so many weapons in place. And I really think this is going to be a great year. And in training camp, right, you take some things with a grain of salt, right? If he had a bad day throwing picks, yeah, he's going to bounce back the next day and have a great day. So if somebody has a bad day, just like Aaron Rodgers, the past couple of years, in his first game, he's throwing 3 picks and and then the rest of the year, he only throws 2. So you got to take things with a grain of salt, right? It's all about how you get better. It's showing you situations, the toughest situations, and all of a sudden how you react to that and how you get better. So there's no doubt in my mind that, training camp goes up and down. Defense wins, offense wins. But at the end of the day, you are grinding there, you're getting better, and you're pushing each other. And I always thought, the tempo you practice at, it will make games easier, right? Because if you're playing full speed, Darnell Wright's going against Yannick, and they're going full tilt, all of a sudden he's working his moves on him. And all of a sudden when you get in the game, it's going to make things a little bit easier.
Corey, I want to ask you a question on that. You're making such a great point, and Matt Eberflus is known as a high-tempo guy, especially in his practice. He likes his players really fast. Is it possible, and maybe Bears fans don't see the idea that because maybe they are playing at a certain tempo, maybe the mistakes go up early in training camp, getting used to that tempo. Is that a fair thing to say?
It's so the thing that people don't realize, right? When you first get to training camp, you are a little out of game shape, right? And that doesn't mean people haven't been working out. It just means for football shape is different than going out there, conditioning, running. Football shape takes about 2 weeks to get into. First 2 weeks of camp, you're learning, okay, I'm running to the football, I'm doing all this, I'm getting in football shape. And then, so people don't realize that it takes some time for you to get in that type of shape. And I think that's why when people come in, they're like, oh, that person's out of shape or he's tired. No. It takes some time to get into football shape and to be able to go hard like that. And I think practice keeps creating these habits. So then when you get to the games are easier, because I've always felt like the games were easier than practice. Practice, in my opinion, at all levels, college, the pros, was harder than the games. Right? Because they test you to the limit. They push you. Let's keep going. High tempo. Let's go. Play after play. Think about in a game, right? You have, 40, 45 seconds in between each play, right? In practice, you'll do a play, then go back and do another one. You're like, oh my, all of a sudden we got 2 inside run drills. They go, we go, they go, we go. All of a sudden you're doing each play in about 15 seconds. You're like, it goes quick. It gets you in shape. You learn how to be a pro. And especially for these younger guys, Dexter and company, I guarantee you they didn't practice the same way in college. Like it's just different, sure. Right? It's up tempo. Everything matters. It's a big deal. You have to run to the football every time or else you're running after practice. So it teaches you how to be a pro, because being a pro is approaching things the right way, right? After practice, right? If you're not in the right shape, hey, we're running a little bit extra. We're doing some extra drills. We're working our hands. So it's a great opportunity. I've been really excited to see Dexter. I mean, he's been flying around. He's explosive. He's raw, right? But I think when he can tap into the hands, the technique, I think this is a guy that's really going to flourish. And at first, when they picked him, I was a little bit like, okay, he was playing a 2-gap scheme, but they obviously saw the athleticism. They saw that there. My opinion at the time was, hey, I wanted a guy that was ready to play a true 3 technique in this Tampa 2. But this could be, this gamble that they had for him could end up paying off because all the tools are there. He's strong as an ox. He's quick as can be for as big as he is. So nowadays the league is becoming of like how big and strong you are, and I think he's somebody that can really flourish in this scheme if he learns, he goes to work every day and really works on that technique.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what you're talking about. And what Ryan Poles is talking about too as well, when you're building towards something where maybe if like it comes a little bit later for Dexter, but it shows up eventually, it's all going to be worth it in the end. I just find it really fascinating that, first of all, I think it's awesome. I want to do it sometime. There's so many people there at training camp watching these practices, commenting, weighing in, showing all these little clips and stuff. But like, I just want everyone to remember that when we're talking about training camp, we are literally talking about process here. Mm-hmm. Like, they have to have adversity. They have to make mistakes. Now is the time to do it. Like, no one goes to someone's batting practice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or like, no one ever watches you at the range and maybe you're just working on fades all day long. And then they go back and they're like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Like, he can't, you know what I mean? He can't hit it a certain way. So I just, you're literally witnessing process right now in these training camps. And I think Bears fans just need to keep that in mind, because we're frothing at the mouth for Justin Fields to succeed every day, to never throw an incomplete pass, never throw a pick. And I think it's going to happen, right? And people are getting used to that tempo a little bit. In your opinion, Corey, just for this Bears team right now, and maybe not your general philosophy, what is your preference? Is your preference what's best for the team right now? Is it the offense winning every day or winning most of the days? Or are you still like an even-handed of the defense wins, offense wins, keep that competition high?
I like it. I like it even to keep the competition high, because I feel like when you practice against somebody, you know their habits, right? So it's kind of not a level playing field. When you go against people from other teams, right, you study them a little bit, but going against somebody every day, you know their movements. You're like, okay, I know when this pass rusher is gonna stab inside, he's coming back outside, right? I know when he looks right away, there's a game coming. So you learn people's tendencies. So sometimes people get the best of each other, but I think usually it goes back and forth. And the way the secondary has been playing, I think about the growth from Kyler Gordon, right? Brisker really had a great year last year, but Gordon really struggled early on. Everyone's like, is this the right pick? And sometimes it's more of a learning curve for some guys. And Gordon now is playing lights out. They call him Spider-Man and all this spidey senses.
You see the confidence, right, Corey? Like
exactly.
The confidence is matching the play now.
Exactly, because sometimes you got to figure things out, right? Because it is a huge jump going from playing college as a corner to playing in the NFL, where you have absolute studs out there. Even the 4-string wide receiver runs a 4.4, can go up and get it. Really good, running routes. So for him, I feel like they finally got him in his natural position, and he's really flourishing at it. And it's fun to see because everybody was really down on the pick. They're like, oh, I like Brisker and I like this, but I didn't like Gordon. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for other guys. And even with Darnell Wright, it's been up and down, right? Some practices he's looked great. His run blocking has been great. Other times they say, oh, he got beat, in this pass rush. Oh, he wanted this pass rush. It goes up and down. And you realize at this level, right, you're going from playing against guys in college. Not everybody's playing in the NFL, right? Some of those guys afterwards are getting a regular job. And that's just the reality of it. Now you're going against guys that are grown men, that have beards, that have families, that's got to put food on the table. So it's a different beast. So everybody's figuring everything out. And I'm sure Darnell Wright is going to get beat in the games at times, but I guarantee you all this practice and training camp going against guys, and especially when Yannick comes here, going against a talented pass rusher like that will help get him better.
Corey, before we get out of here, man, anything else rattling around your brain before my final question for you?
Not that I can think of now, but I'm curious
to hear
your question.
Yeah, well, my question, man, is one that I think is very fair, and I think about it sometimes. But man, this is it's the first week of training camp. You've been out of the league for a couple of years. You still got itchy legs. Do you think about it? Like, does your body? Are you having some sort of weird body feel? You know what I mean? After years and years of training yourself to get ready of August.
I missed it the first year I retired, for sure. Like you miss the locker room, you miss just like that smell of grass early in the morning, like that.
Yeah,
that
I
smell.
Played baseball. Dude, exactly. I don't know all about it.
Now I'm like, I still get that smell when I go golfing early. So but no, I definitely miss the locker room more so than anything, right? Obviously, like you think about how you were feeling during training camp, your legs and your body, and you're beat up, and then you're mad at all the kickers and long snappers because they've been golfing all day at the country club, and that's why they're so good at golf. And now I'm trying to catch up.
Hi guys, how are you?
Yeah, now I'm trying to catch up and get to be a golfer like Robbie Gould, and I'm like, this guy's had 20 years of playing in the league, golfing during practice, but no. But yeah, no, I definitely just miss the atmosphere, having the fans there, there with your brothers and just especially playing with a guy like Spice Adams that made training camp so fun. Like, especially my rookie year when you're just like, oh my God, coach is down my neck. Like I'm not doing well this practice. Then I had a good practice up and down, and then he's over there goofing around. So I definitely miss the guys in the locker room. And I think the biggest thing is during training camp, you have to focus on yourself and not anyone else. That's how I always taught myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm competing with this person or that person, but this is a competition in myself. If I get better every day and I show what I can do, it doesn't matter about anybody else. So I think, any younger person, whether it's high school, whether it's middle school, you just have to focus on yourself. Did I get one day better, right? And you maybe didn't have the best practice, but you maybe improved in an area, with your hand usage or how you got off the football. So you got to look at the positives, and that's why they always have tape, right? Because it's never as good as it seems, never as bad as it seems, right? As long as you got one day better in some regard, that's how you got to look at it. It's competition against yourself.
That's so great, man, because the lessons that you learn in August can be applied somehow in week 6. You know what I mean? Yep. I guess a guy whose technique is specific to the thing that you learned that you got wrong in training camp, and that's such a fascinating journey. Hot take central before we go. I think Robbie Gould kicks for the Bears this year.
I can see that. He's in Chicago. I heard he's still been training. He's been golfing a lot. But I could see that. I think they might have him on standby. I think so.
Look, I will say Cairo Santos did not have the best season last year.
Yeah.
They also got into the situation where they were like, well, we can't really trust him beyond 44, 45 yards, even though they tried a couple times, had problems with extra points. I think he's got to go out there and earn a job in camp. We will definitely find out in the preseason. And if it comes down to we can't trust a guy from 45 yards out, just go get Robbie Gould, because 45 yards in, there's nobody better in the game.
And he's living in Chicago, so I think it's an easy transition for the family. He's been kicking and getting ready. So I wouldn't be surprised. Even if, let's say, Carlos Santos does good during the preseason, and let's say during the season he starts slumping, they would give him a call.
Quick hook, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see that for sure. So I guess we'll see how everything unfolds. But it'd be good to have Robbie back in a Bears uniform, man. He's all-time great when it comes to kicking. Good dude, good for the locker room. And it's awesome to see how great of a career he's had. And you never know in the NFL, especially with kickers. They can play forever. Look at Jason Hansen.
Yeah, look, and I can't go through another promising Bears season with a kicking situation.
Exactly.
So
right? We got to win games at the end of the day, right? You don't want a kicker to ruin it for you.
Kairos, just make your field goals. Just make your field goals, man, and everything's going to be all right. But I'm just saying there's a guy.
Or else it's going to be as good as Gould.
There's a guy on the 12th hole right now who we can easily golf cart all the way down to Hallis, all the way to the lakefront.
Away. Just 35 yard chip shot, bro.
Let's get everybody out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in to BLEAV In Bears. Obviously, you're listening to this on wherever you get your podcasts. You can also hear us on Sirius XM. You're watching us on Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube right now, or on the BLEAV Sports Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Joey Christopoulos, follow me at Joey Sports Guy. Corey Wootton, my friend, take us home. Football is here, dude. Great episode. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, another great episode. We're looking forward to the season. A lot of growth, I think, for Justin Fields in this offense. I think the defense as well, the rush defense is going to be greatly improved. The sack numbers, I think, will go up because I think they're going to mix in some blitzes. We got Yannick as well that'll address some of those concerns. DeMarcus Walker, I think, is going to be a great interior rusher on some of those third down situations. Really looking forward to the season. Like I've said, this has been the most excited I've been for Bears season because I think we finally have our franchise quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is not in this division anymore. I think it's wide open, and I think the Bears are really going to surprise people. I think Justin Fields is going to surprise a lot of people, and we're going to be breaking it down throughout the season. We'll get some of these podcasts later in training camp once the games come out, and we can break some of that down. But really looking forward to seeing the direction of this Bears team. So I think they're going to be leaps and bounds of what they were a year ago.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Be well, be safe. Please be good to each other. It's August. Still enjoy the summer, but guess what? Football is back, baby. So you better get ready because we're about to bear down. See you soon.
Bear down, baby.